Will be very soon. WNBA All-Star Weekend is starting on Friday officially, but we're getting ready this morning. As you just heard Matthew, we're going to check in with him soon on some of the safety preps. But in the meantime, let's get you ready for your Tuesday morning. We talked about it, the muggy meter kind of going off out of control, but it is July after all.
Exactly. And we did get a break from the rain yesterday, although that heat and humidity was sticking around. But we do have some chances for storms, which is pretty typical this time of year. So, Matt, good morning. And look at those blazing temperatures behind you.
Here we go. Yes, very summer-like pattern expected for this week. But the good news is that we do have higher rain chances. Yeah, the humidity is going up. No one likes that. But with the extra humidity and the extra heat, maybe we'll pop up a couple more sips of water for you. Maybe the garden could use another sip or two, and we'll have those chances starting today and then on and off throughout the rest of this week. Now, this morning it's not too bad, and we even have a light northeast wind, especially for some of our eastern and northeastern counties. Richmond, good morning, not bad at 68, and a pair of 66s from Ball State north to Howard County, and then more 70s the farther south and west you go. Plus, there is just a little bit of patchy fog out there this morning. Nothing like what we were tracking yesterday, but do be on lookout. You may see a little bit of a fog bank kind of rolling over the road as you're headed out this morning, especially if you're in some of our more rural areas. We've seen a little bit of improvement in Bedford. We were down below a mile visibility about 30 minutes ago, now up to 3. But we're starting to get more of that patchy dense fog in western Howard County, into parts of Cass County, and then northern White County as well. For the most part, we're dry, but we do have some pop-up showers. And we're going to continue to watch those farther to the south where they're in Owen County and eventually in parts of Jackson and Lawrence counties. We may have some showers here shortly. So we're going to track those for you coming up here in a moment. We're also tracking traffic. A little bit busy out there, Lindsay, for some of us this morning.
Yes, the problem spot right now is on the northwest side. Got some construction that's ongoing from the overnight hours, and we've still got that one travel lane blocked, creating some issues. Here's a look at 65. This is the northbound lanes as you approach I-865. So it's just south of that junction there on the far northwest side of town. Does look like crews are starting to clear out that lane. They're kind of removing some of these cones that have been set up during the overnight, but it's a pretty long stretch of 65 northbound impacted by that lane closure right now. So we are still seeing some pretty significant delays at this point on the northwest side. Delayed tracker keeps us in the red all the way back from basically 865 all the way down to about 71st Street. So because things are moving along a little slower there, we are in the red, and you can see that's continuing to grow. So right now that delay is about 44 minutes. But again, that is starting to clear. We'll continue to keep you posted on when that delay starts to drop.
Well, this morning, Metro Police are asking for the public's help as they continue to investigate a homicide that happened on the west side of Indy.
Police received this call just before 10 last night and arrived at the scene on Alton Avenue near Michigan Street and Tibbs. They tell us a woman was found there with some type of trauma, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Police have been going around the neighborhood asking people nearby if they saw anything.
Right now, detectives have a few people that they're keeping for questioning. I wouldn't call them a suspect at this point. Possibly involved, possibly not. They're trying to figure that out at this time. Right now, there is no known threat to the community, and right now we're asking for the community's help. If you have any knowledge at all of what happened here tonight, please call 262-TIPS.
And a reminder, you can remain anonymous if you have any tips or information that can help police solve that case. Well, developing this morning, a 19-year-old man is under arrest facing 2 preliminary counts of murder.
This is all connected to the deadly shooting of 2 young brothers over the weekend, a 12 and 24-year-old. Their mother shared pictures of her sons, 12-year-old Izzy Offit and 24-year-old Waylon Coe. She told us she didn't even know anything had happened to them until she woke up Saturday morning to get Izzy ready for Kings Island. That's when she noticed he wasn't even home.
The shooting had happened around 4 Saturday morning on West 38th Street near Georgetown Road. That's where officers found the brothers in a car in critical condition. First responders were able to get them to the hospital, but they later passed away from that shooting. Well, police serving a search warrant on the east side of Indy found a man dead from a gunshot wound as well. They believe that gunshot was self-inflicted. We've learned that this happened around 6:30 last night on East Washington Street and Linwood Avenue. That's where state police say that officers from the Indiana Guns Crime Task Force were serving a warrant for a violent felon. When they knocked on the door of the home they believed he was at, they say they heard a gunshot. They later found a body inside, believed to be the target of the warrant they were there to serve. Now, there was a man who walked out of the home at the time. They are now in custody, but police tell us no one else was hurt at that home and that state police officers didn't fire any weapons. A teenager pleading guilty to the murder of a 24-year-old man is set to learn his sentence later today.
The Marion, Indiana teen was just 13 years old at the time of this shooting. Zayden Guy admitting to shooting Byron Dennis Jr. inside a Circle K convenience store on the north side of Marion in March of 2024.
Guy admitted in court that he saw a gun in Dennis's pocket and followed him intending to steal that gun. Now, the usual minimum for murder is 45 years in prison, but by pleading guilty without a plea deal, Guy is hoping that the judge will consider an alternative sentence since he is a juvenile. Well, police are giving us some insight into their process, and so is the person who takes over after the lights and sirens leave a crime scene.
So we want to introduce you to Marion County Coroner Alfie McGinty. She's got 28 years of experience in her field, so she says she's seen it all. And from her perspective, the victims seem to be getting younger, and the number of families impacted by gun violence is only growing.
We know that now the majority of those that die between 13 and 18 died to homicides and gunshot wound injuries. Sometimes our weekends are sort of dreaded because we don't know, what is going to happen.
Well, investigators say that homicide numbers are down significantly when you compare them to this time last year, a nearly 30% drop through July 1st. The coroner, though, says that overall death investigations are also down. That number has dropped nearly 3% since last year.
Well, this morning, parents and preschool workers are sounding the alarm after major cuts to a program to help children here in Indiana. On My Way Pre-K is the state's program that helps lower-income families pay for preschool. But in June, the Family Social Services Administration announced the number of students allowed in that program was being slashed from 6,000 to just 2,500. Now, Jacqueline Strong, who is director of Little Duckling Early Learning Center, says both preschools and parents are facing tough decisions.
There's really not a whole lot you can go without if you're running a high quality program. I know some programs that have had to close their doors because, they just can't afford to operate without students.
Strong says parents are facing the brunt of this issue. She says she's even seen parents stop working to stay home with their kids because it was more affordable. When FSSA announced the cuts, the agency said they were necessary to keep the program sustainable for the long haul due to federal funding cuts used in the past no longer being available.
Well, after counting down for so long, we're now just 3 days out from WNBA AllStar Weekend taking over downtown Indy. And especially with recent incidents, safety is a top priority for city leaders downtown.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a couple of weekends of consecutive shootings near downtown. Matthew Foltz is live outside Gainbridge Fieldhouse with more on what IMPD is doing to prevent anything happening this weekend. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you both. Metro Police say they're going to have all hands on deck, making sure you stay safe as you come down here this weekend. But as for right now, the stage is almost set literally for the WNBA All-Star game. We got Gainbridge Fieldhouse over here, and then to my left across the street, and across the street from Tin Roof, you can see crews working to set some sort of stage up for WNBA All-Star Weekend. Meanwhile, many banners all across the city saying, quote, "The floor is ours." Now, meanwhile, IMPD says they're going to have hundreds of officers patrolling on foot, in cars, by horse, as well as from the sky through drones, making sure you stay safe. The department says they'll be using real-time crime centers to monitor streets around the clock, using city street cameras as well as public safety cameras. And the push for your safety really comes after that mass shooting in downtown, what we saw over the 4th of July weekend. That shooting, unfortunately, leaving 2 teens dead and 5 other young people injured. We know 2 women were also shot this past weekend downtown after a scuffle between each other. Now Mayor Joe Hogsett and Chief Bailey says they want people to keep the violence as well as the negativity away.
Just don't bring a gun with you. That's one way. to be peaceful.
I do want to say to the community that if they heard our voices, and we want you to continue that. We want you to continue to be that example and that guiding light for our youth as we move forward into a very busy weekend in our city.
Now you just heard it right there, Chief Bailey preaching for a peaceful weekend. Meanwhile, he says this past weekend, him and his officers actually saw less teens and children out on the streets compared to 4th of July, which he now credits to parents listening to his plea. Meanwhile, Julia, lots of activities still to be had this weekend in which you can get involved in. We'll break it all down coming up at 5:30. Reporting in downtown Indy this morning, I'm Matthew Foltz, 13 News.